Hello there again, everybody. This is David again, right here with one of the tutorials that I've been posting on YouTube. Long time no see, yeah? I've been away for a bit, but lots of work and stuff to do. So basically today we're going to do some MikroTik and we're going to do some VLAN and networking, exciting stuff. So basically this video will cover the configuration of a MikroTik router board, the CRS 109, which is this device right here. This is the little monster that we will be dealing with. I am going to be setting up some VLANs, some routing on this device, and the wireless capabilities of it. So we'll be using it as a router and as a switch, and we'll also benefit from the VLAN switching capabilities that this device has to offer. So let's go back to square one. Okay, so that's it for the presentation of what we're going to do. This time I'm going to be like ordered. So let's try to go over my current setup. I have the MikroTik router board. This is the CRS 109 8G 1S 2HND-in. This is the device that I just showed you. Great device, recommended because of its capabilities, its powerful CPU, and also a lot of features that it's got to offer. Secondly, we have the TRICOM 4200 Super Stack 26 port fast Ethernet switch, which is this device right here. This is I got it as a loan, let's say, from a teacher in exchange for another one that I had. So basically I'm using this for my testing experimentation and all of that. My model does not have the SFP modules, but basically if you do not look at this, basically this switches all of this right here. All of these are 100 megabit ports, and these two I am using as trunk ports as 802.3 AD link aggregation. So for redundancy and double the bandwidth, I'm using this as one trunk port to my MikroTik router. So my current LAN is set up like this. I have 4 VLANs. This first VLAN is for the cloud stack. I'm using some virtualization. I'm doing some virtualization. So I wanted to separate this from my normal work and wireless clients. So I decided to segmentate, to divide, virtually divide my network into VLANs. Secondly, we have the 167 network, which is for the MikroTik hotspot capability, which I'm like serving wireless clients using some Ubiquiti radios. The 254 network is the one that I use for normal daily work, where my satellite receiver, my computer, my laptop, the other laptop here, some Raspberry Pis, and some other LAN devices are connected. So this is my normal work LAN, and this fourth one is the management VLAN that I created, but as it says here, I have not yet implemented. So that's about it for the setup. So let's cross over that. What I have created on MikroTik is a switch port, which I'm gonna show you right here. Let's see if we can see it on Winbox, or it's better to see through the console. I'm using my MikroTik using a Cisco serial cable, console cable. So for the VLANs, as you can see right here, I have VLAN 10, 167, 254, and I didn't create, as I told you, the management VLAN. So basically what I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna try to log into MikroTik right here using the serial. It's on COM6. Let's try to log into MikroTik right here and go to interface, Ethernet, print my current configuration. As you can see, these ports 3, 4, 5, and 6 are grouped together in a switch group, and their master interface is port Ether 8. As you see by the description, this is a trunk port which goes, which drives and transports the VLAN tagged frames and sends and receives all of the tagged traffic, the tagged frames from the Tricom switch. So basically, this is the part that concerns the switch. So basically, this is a 4-port switch, and these ports are access ports. Let's go over that. Okay, they go, as I told you, to gain more access ports. I'm using the 4200 switch. Now, to be able to use the MikroTik as router and switch in just one device, we have to use the switch CPU as it was an interface, another port. So basically, this is what this guy from this tutorial that I also followed explains in great detail right here. So I will put a link in the description of the video below so you can go and have a look to this excellent post, which explains how the MikroTik CPU works. He also extracted that from the MikroTik wiki, but he explains it a little better. So I chose his explanation over the MikroTik one because it's quite technical. I'm not so wise or brilliant to understand that. You know what I mean. So basically, he shows what he's going to do with his VLANs, and I also use this, but I accommodated it to my own needs. I use the wireless chip on the CSR because as I showed you right here, let's go to wireless. I have some access points. I do not directly use the first interface, but I created virtual access points, one for my David Wi-Fi network, which is on the 254 VLAN, and the client's Wi-Fi, which I use to serve Wi-Fi, as I told you earlier. So I'm using a bridge to be able to use the wireless, the WLAN capabilities of the MikroTik. Now the configuration. I have 4. This should be 4, not 3, because as I was telling you earlier, using this image, I am using ports 1 and 2 as my two ones. I have 2 providers, so basically I'm using ones 1 and 2, ports 1 and 2, Ether 1 and Ether 2 as 1 interfaces. Ports Ether 3 and Ether 4 are access ports for the Cloud Stack network. I have 2 servers connected right here. The Cloud Stack and Citrix Send server are connected to these ports. They are access ports again. Port 5, sorry, is seeing the 167 network, the hotspot network. Port 6 is used for my laptop. I have a cable connected directly to my laptop because this guy is only fast Ethernet, so 100 megabits only. So I connected my laptop right here. And ports 7 and 8 are used as trunk ports. They are bonded together. Let me show you that. Right here under the interfaces, you go to bonding and you can see that I have the 802.3 protocol. So I'm using link aggregation control protocol to double the bandwidth of this link, and these two ports go to ports 25 and 26 from the 4200 3COM switch as trunk ports. So they carry the tagged traffic back and forth. And now that I show you this, I am going to go into a little detail on how I did create the, well, not exactly detail as to create the VLANs on the 3COM switch. You will find documentation for that on the web. So basically ports 1 through 8 are used for VLAN 10 for the cloud stack network. They are access ports, so they see and tagged traffic. Ports 9 to 16 I am using for my 254 network. They are also access ports for that network. For ports 17 to 20 or 21, I cannot remember from the top of my head right now. I use those for VLAN 167. Then again, the hotspot network to be able to probably extend it, connect more radios in Wi-Fi radios in the future. And ports 23 and 24, they are unused. So basically I have those for VLAN 1, which would be the management VLAN for the switch, if I'm not mistaken. So basically this is about all for this part of the setup. Now I created the VLANs under port 8, which you can see right here. To be more clear, they are children of the Ether 8 interface. Why I'm using this? If you come from Cisco, this will be your sub interfaces, and in my case I'm using these right here as ingress. This is a configuration for the access ports. The VLAN tagging, you see that I'm using VLAN tagging on ports 8 and the switch CPU. For VLAN 99 I'm using the switch CPU only, and for VLANs 167 and 254 I'm also using the Ether 8 and the switch CPU ports respectively. What I'm trying to achieve with this is to be able to use MikroTik as switch device and as routing device. So basically this is what you would do if you had this guy, the 3COM switch, as your only switch, and this guy, the MikroTik, as your router. As if you were using Cisco, you will do all of the Cisco stuff, routing and everything there, and the Cisco, the router, in my case the 3COM, will send all of the tagged traffic through the trunk ports to the trunk port on the MikroTik, and it will do all of the routing, and in my case all of the VLAN routing, which we will use to do inter VLAN routing, and in my case inter VLAN giving internet access to all of the VLANs. As it says here, 3 VLANs created with Ether 8 as master interface. This will be the sub interfaces if you come from Cisco. And to be able to use the WLAN, the wireless network, on the MikroTik, you will need to switch, or you will need to add rather the switch 1 CPU as a port, and also the WLAN to a bridge interface that we will create later on the video, and change the IP from the sub interface, my case the VLAN 254, to the bridge, as you can see from this IP configuration. I have the 254 going to the BR-LAN bridge, which you can see right here has ports WLAN 3, which is a virtual access point, virtual wireless access point, and the VLAN 254. This is to be able to send traffic back and forth seamlessly from the wireless interface to the internet, and also if I want to communicate, to do inter-LAN communication from my mobile phone or the tablet or whatever other device that you want to connect and do inter-LAN routing and sending packages back and forth on the same local area network. So basically this is about that. Now we are going to explain what we are going to do. Firstly, we will restart the MikroTik to system defaults or factory reset, and then we will create the group of switch ports, and then we'll start with the VLAN configuration. So I'll be back and we will start doing the interesting and the fun stuff from this tutorial right after this short commercial break. Okay, and now we're back. I'm gonna continue with the steps that I outlined before. This time we will go to reset. We're going to reset the MikroTik device and make it like a brand new device to start configuring the VLANs and all of the stuff that I showed you right here. As you can see, this has gotten quite complex with time to time as the VLANs grow. I have the hotspot, I have some port forwarding, as you can see right here, some netting, some rules for the hotspot, for webcam that I use to monitor my little pet, some restrictions to block access, unauthorized access, yeah, some brute force rules. I will probably share all of this with you in future presentations, but for now let's go and do the reset. So first of all, I am going to, and you should do too, take a backup of your current configuration. All working. I am not going to encrypt the backup. Let's hit the backup. You can see it right there. Out of that, system reset configurations, keep the user, no default configuration, and do not backup because I've already taken one. So let's go to the reset, and through the console you can see that I'm actually resetting the device. I'm not cheating. You could hear the beep, and in a couple of seconds you will hear the 2 beeps that indicate that the MikroTik device is reset to defaults, and we can start working with it. So Winbox should have thrown OS out, and there you have the beep beep. Now we log in as admin. I'm using again a cable, console cable. Let's log in. As you can see, the name is back to MikroTik. Let's do on interface Ethernet print. You can see that everything is back to factory defaults. So basically, and following this tutorial, first we will need to create a switch group, like create a virtual sub switch in our MikroTik. This will serve as a placeholder or switch group, like you can see right here on this tutorial. We will have a switch port. It will be like a switch inside our MikroTik with 4 ports. In our case, it will be 5 ports, either 3, 4, 5, and 6, with master interface as Ether 8. So to carry on with the tutorial, we will do this, but I have done that. I have taken a backup from my configuration. I have it right here. So basically, the first steps that I do on every MikroTik that I set up is set up the time zone, change the SSH port, and set the time, the NTP client, network time protocol. So I am just going to copy this, and I'm using PuTTY, and I am going to paste this using the right click. There you go. You have the basic configuration, and now we will create the switch port. In my case, I have named the interfaces accordingly, as I showed you on the first part of the video, and this is the name for the 2.1 interfaces. So let's again copy this and paste it into the MikroTik console window like this. Great. Now let's do a print to make sure that everything is as we expect it to be. Okay, so we have Ether 3, 4, 5, and 6 with their master port as Ether 8. Oh, this is working. Go out of that. Now let's follow along with the tutorial. It says that you have to set VLAN tagging on the CPU port for the VLANs to make packets tagged, or tag the packets before they get routed, and create some Ingress VLAN translation rules to ensure the correct VLAN ID assignment is done on the access ports. So this is something that has to do with the ports, with the access ports. Let's log into the MikroTik, but this time using the MAC address. As you can see, there is no configuration. The VLANs is just a 4095, which is the default for every MikroTik device. All ports belong to that VLAN. There is no VLAN tagging, there is no Ingress or Agress VLAN rules apart from the defaults. So basically no switches, no weird or strange configurations. The bond that I created disappeared. As you can see, the VLANs are no longer there. So to continue with the tutorial, we just did this. So let's cross that out. For forwarding the VLAN traffic in this tutorial, it's VLAN 200, 300, and 400 respectively, and they create the Ingress VLAN translation so that all of the packets get untagged or arrive into the access ports. This is the rules for creating the access ports and making sure that untagged traffic is on those specific ports. In my personal case, my configuration, which I had before the reset, I will I have comments on all of the VLANs to have everything organized. So interface 8, the layer 2 maximum transfer unit is at 1584, and the VLAN name is VLAN 10, and the VLAN ID again VLAN 10. So we will create the VLANs, but let's do it on the console. There you go. I used to do a print after I execute a command to make sure that everything is okay. So the Cloud Stack VLAN, the Management VLAN, the Hotspot VLAN, and the Work VLAN are created, and they're created under or with Ether 8 as their master or father interface, if you want to call it like that. So basically they are the VLANs, but in MikroTik, if you come from Cisco, you just create the interfaces on the VLAN segment of the configure terminal section of the Cisco routers. Here you have to make the VLANs be like children, if you want to call it like that, of the interface. So in our case, we will do that with the Ether 8 port. Now we create the Agress VLAN translation. Let's do that. What's that for? Okay, so the switch ports, Agress VLANs, set the VLAN tagging on the CPU port. Okay, I've already gone through that. So basically I'm going to copy this chunk of code first and then the other one. Let's go out of that mode. Let's finish creating the VLAN tagging for the Agress translation. So as you can see here, we're going to add the switch 1-CPU port, the switch CPU port, as a tagged port, because MikroTik will internally remove those tags and send the traffic accordingly and following the VLAN rules, and it will use its intelligence, let's call it that like that, to send the packets and route them to the right port. Now we create the same but for the access ports. In my case, I will use, let's do this by the keyboard like this. We will do this and then do a print. Okay, I expected that. You can see the Ingress VLAN translation, the rules that I just created, and which ports will be untagged or access ports if you come from Cisco again. So Ether 3 and 4 belong to VLAN 10, Ether 5 belongs to VLAN 167, and Ether 6 belongs to VLAN 254. So basically that's about that. I didn't do the print on the previous command, so please forgive about that. So let's reconnect to the MikroTik because I was kicked out. Okay, and now you can see that configuration starts to look more familiar to the one that I had before. We created the children VLAN interfaces, or sub interfaces if you're Cisco people. We created the VLAN tagging rules. We created and set up the Ingress VLAN translation, and the Egress VLAN translation will not show here. You will see that right here, here. Okay, so you go right here. Right here, you can see the ports. Okay, trunks, port isolation. You can see that ports 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, and the switch CPU port are here because we created the Egress or Egress VLAN translation. So basically, if you want to see that, you will go to Interface, Ethernet, Switch, Egress VLAN translation or tagging. I can't remember correctly. Yeah, it was VLAN Egress VLAN tagging. Yeah, Egress VLAN tagging. We print the rules, and you can see the tagging that is taking place. This is a dynamic VLAN, as I told you, the 4095, which is the default MikroTik VLAN. And you see that this is not important, as is the management VLAN that is not working at the moment. But VLAN 10 has tag ports the Ether 8 and switch CPU, and so does VLAN 167 and VLAN 254. Good, so showed you everything that I've done up until now. Now we will actually create the VLAN interfaces as you will do on a Cisco or another device. What we are going to do here is add all of the ports that we will be using on that specific VLAN. In this case, we will use Ether 3, 4, and 8 and the switch CPU for VLAN 10. Ports 5 and 8 and the switch CPU port for VLAN 167, and ports Ether 6, 8, and the switch CPU port for VLAN 254. As you see, I didn't create the VLAN 99 because I'm not actually using it. So I'm not using that. So let's copy and paste that and then print our new brand new configuration, and you can see all of the ports belonging to all of the VLANs. Here it doesn't differentiate between access and trunk ports. In this case, the access ports are 3, 4, 5, and 6, and trunk ports will be the Ether 8 port and the switch CPU port, respectively. Alrighty, now we're going to assign IP addresses to the virtual interfaces, or again, if you come from Cisco, to the sub interfaces that we created earlier. This will serve the purpose of gateway or layer 3 or upper layer for the VLANs, so we get routing, inter-VLAN routing, which is the sole purpose of this tutorial, isn't it? So basically what we'll do here is create a virtual gateway for all of the VLANs that we just created. We copy this, paste it. Okay, for these two interfaces we have errors because I do not yet have neither the VR VLAN interface nor the hotspot interface. But I will start or add an address to the interface. So add address 192.168.254.1/24 to the VLAN 254 interface. Let's not add a comment, and let's print what we just did. So basically, now you have the interfaces. This will be the virtual interfaces. If you go here and you say, hey, why didn't that work? Because as I was telling you, I bridged the WLAN, one of the virtual wireless access points that I created, and the VLAN interface for my 254 network to be able to have clients wired and wirelessly connected to my network on the same subnet, in this case VLAN 254. So the bridge has not been created, so MikroTik says that there is no such interface. So if you got lost there with that mistake, there you have the explanation. So here you have what I just did. This is the gateway. This will be the gateway for the 254 network. So let's move to that. I am going to create the default gateways for the networks. There you go. And let's print those again. 1, 1 and 1, 2. There is some inconsistencies here because this will be 250. So basically that's about it. Alrighty. Good. So now let's do some DNS configuration, so I can show you that all of the clients inside the VLANs work and are able to browse the net, because this is the sole tutorial, the purpose of this tutorial. And finally, I will show you what I did with the bridge and show you via Winbox how I bridged the VLAN and the WLAN interfaces to be able to browse wirelessly and with wired clients. So let's copy and paste these default routes. Let's do that. You will see some routing marks here because I'm doing the PCC load balancing thing with my 2 ones to have more bandwidth and redundant WAN links. So that's about that, so don't worry about it. Okay, so let's do some testing now. Okay, we enable the routing. We add the VLAN interfaces on the master port because it connects with the CPU port, and the IP addresses created on the VLAN interfaces as I was telling you earlier. So this is what they do. Okay, so I just turned on one of the Cloud Stack servers, which is connected to port, I don't know, I can't remember, let me check. It's on port 4. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to try to ping one of the servers, the Cloud Stack server that I was telling you about earlier, which is on the 172.16.10 network and is host number 2. There you go. It's reachable from the MikroTik, which shouldn't be really weird because it's directly connected to it. So let's do that from the Windows computer to test inter-VLAN routing, which is what we came for today. Yeah. So basically, what I'm gonna do first and foremost is to remind you that I was previously with my router, my MikroTik setup with DHCP server. I was telling you that I was on the 254 network. Now there is no DHCP on that network, and Windows obviously fell back to the standard or default configuration with that 169.254 something network. So I have to use a statically assigned IP in that range. So for this test I will use 254 on the same network. I am going to need to test and use the gateway because that way it will know about the other networks. Okay, so now I'm on that on the 254. Yes, okay. So let's first ping my gateway, the MikroTik. Okay, so see what's going on. All right, so okay, here is the problem. I do not have any address assigned to that interface. I have to do that. No pingable interface if there is no such interface. There you go. The ping is up. Good. Now let's test the Cloud Stack server mentioned earlier, which is 2. There you go. Inter-VLAN routing is set up and configured. Alright, good. Now let's log in to that Cloud Stack server. Let's go there. Good. It will take some time because I have not yet configured the NAT rules to make them internet aware, so it will take a bit. Good. Now let's try to ping the server's default gateway. Good. So the server, is seeing the MikroTik, which is great. Let's see if it's able to ping one of the hosts on the 254 network, my own computer. There you go. Inter-VLAN routing and interconnection is working. Now for the final step, let's see if any of these guys has internet, which they shouldn't. Nope. Yeah, Obviously not, because the NAT rule that we should have here for that purpose is not there. So we will create it as Masquerade right here. We can either use rules for all of the networks that will be connecting to our MikroTik via the VLANs, using the VLANs, or we can just leave it as default. If you want some of your VLANs to not have access to the internet, you just will have to list them right here on the SRC or source address. Let's try that. I am going to allow the 254 network to be able to browse the net. So check that the ping is not working. I'm pinging one of the Google DNSs or some of those DNSs. I have not enabled the rule yet, not applied the changes, but technically as soon as I hit the apply button, the ping should come up and the statistics and the traffic will start flowing. What happens to the Linux machine? Okay, let's go back. Let's go back there. It threw me out. Okay, so my computer is now internet able. There you go. So let's see if our Cloud Stack server has internet access. Well, this is not about NAT or anything like that. I just want to show you that you can have inter-VLAN communication, but you can segregate or discriminate between the networks that will and those that will not have internet access. So basically it's not working for the Linux server. But if you go to the same rule and instead of 192.168 blah, you use the network on the Cloud Stack range. Let's do that again. The lazy works double, so apply, and the ping should go up, which it doesn't. Okay, let's try pinging another host. So that was about it. And now Windows and Linux hosts work the way they should. So there you go. It was down for a bit. Yeah, one dropped packet. Probably the internet connection failed or something. And if you want all of your VLANs to have internet access, just do this. Remove the source address, ping again, and all of the networks have internet connectivity. The VLANs are reachable. Okay, so now I am going to do one of the tests, because as you can see, as I told you, rather because you have not seen that, I have the Cloud Stack server, which is on the 10, on the VLAN number 10, is connected directly to the MikroTik, to port 4. So I am going to disconnect. Let's wait for a bit so you can probably hear. When I disconnect, you will see that the ping will stop. Yeah, there you go. And I am going to connect it to port 1 on the 3COM switch, and the ping should return after some seconds. Let's see if it does. There you have it. VLAN tagging, trunk port, and inter-VLAN routing is working as expected. So basically there you have it. If I remove the server cable, and I am going, you have to take my word for it, I am going to place this computer on another port. I am going to place it on port 10, which is one of the 254, which is on the 254 network, on the VLAN, one of the access port for the 254 network. Ping shouldn't return. It will always time out because I am connecting the cable of that server to an access port of a network that it doesn't know about. So there you have it. Not timeout this time, but it doesn't know who is the gateway for that network. So let's go back to the right port. Let's connect it again to port 1, and the ping should come back up in a few seconds. There you have it. Okay, so our VLANs are working. Internet access for all of the VLANs. So this is VLAN. So you can see that I'm not lying to you. Here you have the right interface from the Linux machine, a constant ping, MikroTik setup for all of the VLANs, and switch base and port base VLAN with MikroTik acting as our switch and our router. So VLAN tagging working. And now I am to wrap this up, I am going to show you from the Word document, show the working setup. So basically this one and this one can be crossed out. And finally I am going to show you how I did manage to integrate or bond, let's say bridge, the wireless interface and the VLAN. Let's first go to the wireless. Let's use the default MikroTik. Hit apply. This is test, so no need for a password or anything. So basically what you'll need to do is go into bridge, create a bridge. Let's call this Wi-Fi. Defaults pretty much the same. Now we go to the ports. We add the WLAN 1 interface, and we add the VLAN 254. But this is not all. Okay, we now need to change the IP on the VLAN to the bridge port, so that DHCP, which we will just set up in a few seconds, will work. So you go into the IP and change the interface from VLAN 254, in my case, to VR-Wi-Fi. Okay, now we're going to set DHCP right here. Let's do it the quick and dirty way. VR Wi-Fi. Okay, we have the address space, the gateway. That's correct. Okay, this is also fine. Yeah, but let's just set a shorter range. DNS is okay. The least time is okay. And now I am going to go right here. I'm going to disable my wire LAN. I am going to enable, let's close out of this. I am going to enable my Wi-Fi. I will look for a network called MikroTik. Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot something. Let's go back, and or I can do it from the console right here. So basically I can do interface wireless, let's not go over crap. So basically you see that DHCP is working on that interface because I bridged the wired and the wireless interfaces. So basically I'm gonna go back to MikroTik, to Winbox. Okay, let's go there. And I missed a step, which is very important. I didn't set up the wireless interface as access point bridge, and I didn't enable it either. So basically silly me, yes? Okay, so let's disable this one, re-enable this one. Okay, look for the right network, which should be right here as MikroTik with no password. Connect automatically. Let's try to connect. It says limited, connected, and let's check. MikroTik, internet access, which address, and there you go. We have managed to turn our MikroTik into a full-fledged solution for routing and switching. So basically what you see here is the good old router board, this baby right here, working as a switch with trunk port, access port, wireless, wired clients, management network, everything working, and everything set up from scratch. So I think this is just about it. Thanks for watching. If you like, please comment, rate, and subscribe. All of the links of the tutorials used in this video will be down there on the description of the video. Thank you for watching. Muchas gracias. Goodbye.